Hi, everyone. Um, my name's Sean Gervin. Welcome to my video speech analysis. I'm going to be talking about a speech from the television show Star Trek, given by Captain James T. Kirk, played by William Shatner. If you haven't heard of Star Trek, it's a very popular franchise that started in the 1960s with the television show. It's now called the original series, but lots of people really go to Star Trek for a lot of interesting speeches. And actually, James T. Kirk or William Shatner is kind of known for the way he delivers these stirring speeches. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. A speech where James T. Kirk talks about the Constitution. He's basically delivering a speech to these two fictional groups of people called the Yangs and the Combs, and they're on this planet that's kind of like a parallel universe that is Earth. So it's kind of an interesting take on how these two conflicting groups try to get along. Um, let's start. So, what does we the people mean to a society that no longer understands it? That's the question. In the Star Trek episode, The Omega Glory, Captain James T. Kirk delivers a stirring speech that reclaims the ideals of the U.S. Constitution. It's not just for the fictional Yangs and Combs, but for the viewers of 1968 grappling with war, racism, and political unrest. Some can say that it even, might be relevant today. Um, Lots of, if you watch Star Trek, the original series now, you might go, wow, this is still relevant today. In this analysis, I'm going to argue that Kirk's speech is effective because of its emotionally resonant delivery, its use of rhetorical appeals like ethos and pathos and logos, of course, and its ability to speak to both the characters in the episode and the real world audience watching at home. First, I'll break down the speech's purpose and audience. Then, I'll explore its rhetorical strategies, evaluate Kirk's delivery techniques, and finally, we're going to reflect on its overall impact on the fictionalized groups of people, but also the world as a whole. So, what does we the people mean? Captain Kirk's purpose in asking this question is to remind the Yangs, who are descendants of Americans, what their sacred document actually means. They treat the U.S. Constitution like a religious relic, reciting it without understanding. This sounds very familiar. Yes. Kirk reframes the Constitution as a living promise, one that guarantees liberty and justice for all. While the fictional audience is the Yangs and the Combs, the real audience is actually 1968 America. In America during that time, America was facing its own contradiction between stated ideals and lived reality. The Vietnam War was going on. There was a civil rights movement. So this is very relevant to the times. Star Trek was using science fiction, and it did this very well to hold up a mirror to contemporary society. Um, so during the speech, Kirk uses ethos to establish his moral authority. He does this a lot. He is a Starfleet captain and the moral leader of the crew. He was elected to do, or he earned the right to do that. He speaks with integrity and reverence for democratic values. He believes in that. He's chosen to serve his country, or in this case, they didn't really have countries then. It was more about the actual mission. He also draws on pathos, especially when he says they must apply to everyone or they mean nothing. That line hits hard. It appeals to our shared sense of fairness and human dignity. Finally, Kurt uses logos to expose the inconsistency in the Yanks' thinking. They worship a document that says all men are created equal, but try to exclude their enemies from those rights. This sounds familiar. His logic is simple but powerful. Either the Constitution applies to everyone or no one. It's a very logical statement, but it means so much, right? Sometimes logic is a great way to end a speech. William Shatner's delivery as Kirk is deliberate and passionate. This is what he's known for. His vocal tone, William Shatner, the actor, his vocal tone builds from quiet solemnity to firm conviction. Um, he uses pauses to emphasize key phrases, which is his signature, like "we, the people." Give weight to the words. That those pauses really do give weight to certain words. We, like, all together, we are the people. Those pauses is kind of like helps the viewer really let it sink in. His facial expressions show intensity, and his gestures are controlled but assertive. He points, he looks the gangs in the eyes, demanding they listen and reflect. This is engaging the audience. He's really engaging the people that need to hear this. These techniques combine to create a commanding presence. Kirk isn't just delivering a speech, he's delivering a lesson. Um, so, to conclude, in this analysis, we've seen how Captain Kirk's We the People speech uses rhetorical appeals, emotionally grounded delivery, and moral clarity to achieve its goal, to inspire both the characters and the audience to reflect on the meaning of equality and justice. It also shows how powerful logic can be if delivered correctly. What makes a speech effective isn't just its style, right? It's its substance. This one reminds us that the words of the Constitution must live through us, or they mean nothing. In the end, Kirk doesn't just recite the Constitution, he defends it. He's defending what the Constitution stands for. And in doing so, he reminds all of us of our own responsibility to uphold its values. Check out Star Trek. Have a great day. Thanks.